Hello, everybody. How are you all doing? Okay, I see a few people from Yola, from Jos, and all over the place. So we are going to get started. And Bartolome, are you like sitting side by side with your wife, or that's just a picture? Okay, it must be a picture. All right, let me just do a quick roll call here to see who I have. I see Jotham Hussein from, I think you're from Abuja, right? Um, I see. Is that Pastor Nancy? Okay. You see, when you people start using all these nicknames to name yourselves, it's difficult to know to recognize you, especially when you're hiding in the dark. Yeah. But we're going to get started. We have quite a bit of work we need to cover. So let's go ahead and get started here. Okay. All right. Today, what we're going to be discussing, we're going to be discussing strategies for a winning year. Because, when the year began, most of you and I had some goals. Okay, I'm going to mute everybody's lines. Please, if you're on this call, I'll encourage you to be somewhere quiet or mute your line if possible. The noise from your end is impacting everybody, so I'm just going to mute everybody for now. Go. All right. So mute. Great. All right, let's get started. Let's get started. We don't have too much time here, so let's get started. And you're joining the line, please be respectful of others and mute your line. Please mute your line. Oh, you know what? Let me do this. Let me not allow anybody to unmute themselves. So, except now, I'll let you unmute yourself. I hope you'll be responsible about it. Okay. So we are going to get started. So today we're going to be talking about strategies for a winning year. This is a session that is planned specifically for the team in Yola. We had a similar session in Kaduna, in Port Harcourt, and also in Abuja, but quite a few of you missed these sessions. So I felt it was important for us to hold this session so that we can be able to at least get everybody who is part of the program either caught up with regards to what we're discussing, or at the very least, allow you to be able to glean from some of the things that we've discussed so that you can be able to accomplish your year's goals. Now, let me get straight to the meat of the matter. And if you have questions, take advantage of this tool. On the right side of the screen, you are able to chat. All right, that means you're able to ask questions, you're able to throw out a thought. If you're somebody like Kemi, who tends to keep track of everything and likes to recap everything and help everybody know where we are, you might take advantage of that as well. And this is conversation that can be continued within the platform as well. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and I was saying, Jotham, let your kids go and play so that they'll stop being a distraction to you. All right. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get started now. So let's start out by discussing mute all. Let's start out by discussing why or reasons why people create New Year's resolutions. The first thing I'm going to talk about, or let me just give you an outline of the things that we're going to be discussing today. The first thing we're going to be talking about, 3 reasons why people are excited about the prospect of success, especially at the beginning of a new year. You know, most of you wonder, I mean, is it a human phenomenon? What is it? Why is it that at the beginning of every year or at the beginning of a new session, we're all so excited about a resolution or something? So we are going to be talking about that. And then allow some of you to be able to ask questions and be able to understand the whole psychology behind New Year's and New Year resolutions. We're also going to talk about why most dreams for the new year die without being accomplished by December 31st of that year. So once the year begins, everybody's excited, everybody has a New Year's resolution, there are things they want to do, but a lot of times December comes and yes, Monica, you have a question? Eric, Dr. Eric Enoch, we can hear all your conversations. Can you please mute your line?
Oh, sorry, sir. Let me mute my distance, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Monica, you have a quick question? All right, I might as well just lower your hand and continue. So, we're also going to talk about why most dreams do not get accomplished by December 31st of the year. Thirdly, we're going to talk about time as a seed. We are going to look at time as a seed. We're going to look at the elements of a successful seed, meaning that what are the things that make up for a successful year? What are the elements that make up time? What are the different components that allow that time to be valuable? Then we'll also begin the process of connecting the dots from where you are to where you need to be, meaning that based on the things that you have accomplished today, based on the where you are as an individual, how can you get to your desired destination or whatever it is that you've laid out yourself for 2019. Then we're also going to go through the process of recalibration, meaning that some of you have already lost time. We're already in March of 2019. That is 2 months already gone. For some of you, your goals require an entire 365-day stretch. What are the things that we can do to help you get caught up and then to staying the course with regards to replicating this success, not only in 2019, but also in 2020, 21, 22, and thereabout. All right. So those are some of the things those are some of our objectives for this session today. So we're just going to go ahead quickly and get started. Now, let's talk about 3 reasons why people are excited about the prospect of a new year. 3 reasons why people are excited about the prospect of success, especially in a new year. The first is that intrinsically, the new year is symbolic in the human mind as an opportunity for reflection on life. What does that mean? At the beginning of every year, people are excited about a new season, a new chapter of their lives. Let's take 2019, for instance. You find yourself transitioning from 2018 to 2019. It is not necessarily the year in itself that excites you. It is the things that come with the year, knowing that you're getting older, knowing that you made it past the previous year. Several things basically just excite you, and it creates a euphoria, not just around you, but also around the people in your community, the people in your circle of influence. If it's a business, it is getting ready to get into a new cycle. So there's just this whole excitement about new seasons that creates a sense of euphoria, mostly among humans. And so it's psychological per se, but it also has a physical element to it. So that's why I said intrinsically, the new year is symbolic. It's a season that is symbolic of reflection on your life, reflection on your past life, reflection on the future, and where you're trying to go. Number two, the second reason why people are excited about the prospect of success at New Year's is that as human beings, we are subject to time. As human beings, we are subjected to time. Everything we do is a product of time. Now, for every person that is on this call, you've attended the Becoming the Best Version of You, which is also the A100 course in the PTN. You understand the significance of time. We spent a lot of hours, vesting, discussing, studying, evaluating your use of time. Ultimately, time is an element that we touch upon right across PTN at every point in time and in everything that we do. So time is something that we all are subjected to, and there's no way you can be able to stay away from time. The third element is that time is a currency of exchange, and I want to really emphasize that time is a currency of exchange, and everybody knows this. It doesn't matter if you're making progress towards prosperity or you are regressing towards penury. It does not matter. Time is something that we all are subjected to. So it is very important for each and every person to understand these three elements. Number one, the euphoria that comes with that season. Number two, the fact that we all are subject to time. And then thirdly, time in itself is a currency of exchange. All right. So now, having said that, here's an interesting thing. And I think I'm going to throw this out here as a question to see if there's anybody that, is following what I'm saying, or if anybody can answer this question. Let me ask this question. Most businesses and ideas, be they successful or not, usually start in January and in September or October. Either January or September or October. Does anybody have an idea why this is so? I think I will exclude the Kaduna people. And if you have, I'll exclude the Kaduna people and I think I'll exclude the Kaduna people because we discussed that question extensively during their session. So I can see all of them getting ready like me. No, if you answer the question, you're not going to get a visa to America. So just don't be hopeful. That's not, this session is for Yola people. So allow the Yola people to shine. All right, good. So that's my question. What do you think? Why do you think? And we have a chat box here. So please take advantage of this. So why do you think? I think, let me just post this question and copy it and dump it in here as well. Ewo, technology is vexing for all of us. By the way, it's good to see most of you. I see quite a few people joining in. I see Laura I see Eric. The moment Eric started talking, I knew it was him. He's always disrupting every call that we have. He's always having something to say in the background. Shaq so Eric in Yola, Shaq from Jos, Monica, I guess that is Yola, Laura, Yola, Nena. I'm not sure which of the Nenas this is, since I can't see a picture. I'm not sure if it's Port Harcourt or Abuja. Godson, Hansen. God is good, Hansen. I know that's Port Harcourt. Victor Raka, Port Harcourt, Togo, Pasa, Yola as well. Tonya Yala, Port Harcourt, Beatrice, Betty Mologo, Yola, Kemi Bello, Kaduna, Joseph Umoru, Kaduna, Fumi Bilewu, Kaduna, Patricia Dinkpa, Port Harcourt. This is Nancy Hindi, I'm guessing so. Yola, I don't know who UD's phone is, who UD's iPhone is, but whoever that person is. Then I see Jotham, I think, also from Abuja, I'm guessing. Okay, so let's discuss this topic a little bit more. Let's discuss, why do you think most businesses start in January or in September/October? Does anybody want to give this a shot? If you don't know what I'm asking, let me just post it here in the group. Why do most businesses start most businesses and ideas successful not begin in January and October? Why? Here's the question. The question is in there. So if you have an answer, if you have an idea, please go ahead and just respond to it. We have, the conversation can be going in on the side. But just to save time, while you want to come up with your theories or your suggestions, I noticed that people don't like talking about these things. There's no right or wrong answer. If you don't speak, you might be able to give us a perspective that we did not even think about. But one of the reasons why businesses thrive or begin mostly in those times of the year is because in January, there is a sense, there's this sense of opportunity that comes with, a desire to reposition yourself for a new beginning. It's like New Year. In fact, here's the crazy thing. What happens is that by the time it starts getting to October, November of most years, you find out that people start talking about the new year. It's as if there is this magical wand that comes with the new year that changes all of your life problems. It's like every mistake you've made in life does not matter. The moment you cross into January 1st, all your problems are gone. But we've come to realize that that is not true. The fact is that you haven't changed. You are still behaving the way you are behaving. Your values have not changed. Your habits have not changed. And if that is the case, you will not be able to grow and be progressive. So it is very critical for you to understand that even though there is that excitement about starting something new, it is important for things around you to change in order for your outcomes and your results to change. So in January, most businesses start because of that sense of excitement, that sense of euphoria. This is a known statistical fact. Most businesses start in January because of that excitement, that intrinsic excitement that I was talking about, being the beginning of a new year, a new season based on reflection on self and excitement about the future. Now, in September and October, the reason why a lot of businesses start is the complete opposite. Usually when you get into the ember months, meaning we're getting into the end of the year, people begin to realize that the year is almost coming to an end and they have not yet started working on those goals that they talked about 9 months ago. So there is that sense of urgency, that comes with the realization that the year is about to end and I cannot enter 2020 the way I entered 2019. So most times people start out businesses with excitement to euphoria for a new season in January, or in September, October, when the year is ending, they realize, this year is about to finish and I have not done anything about it. So those are some of the things that govern our behavior. So it is a behavioral issue. Now, I want you to remember this, and this is so critical before we start talking about time as a seed. This is so critical in the sense that if you have goals, you have clear set goals, you will have to find a way to ensure that those goals are consistently before you, year in, year out, month in, month out, week in, week out. Now, let me give you a simple example. Let me show you something here. I'm not sure if you can see my screen, but if you can see my screen, this is my phone. I'm not sure if you can see it. This is my phone. Now, at the bottom of this screen, you will notice that there is a 3-letter acronym, or an acronym, a 3-letter acronym with the year 2022 at the bottom. Now, I intentionally asked them to design this for me because I use my phone every day. And I needed my phone to be a platform to remind me, because every time I pick up the phone, I see this design. It reminds me of my 3 goals, my 3 short-term goals, the 3 things that I wanted to accomplish, that I want to accomplish by 2022. It was my 5-year goal, so I guess I'm halfway there. But these are my 3-year goals, and I use it as a screensaver on my phone. It's on my computer. I have a design that I use on my display profile. Just anywhere, every opportunity that I have to remind me to stay focused on my 3-year goals, because I don't want to be reminded by September that I haven't been focusing on my goals. So everything that I do is driven by the fact that I can evaluate or measure by asking, am I working towards RPM? R stands for something, P stands for something, M stands for something else. So those are the 3 things, as far as I'm concerned, are the obsession of the 5-year period, starting from 2017 all the way to 2022. Those are the things that my eyes need to stay fixed on, my mind need to stay focused on, because those are the 3 critical things that I need to accomplish in order for me to work towards my lifetime goals. You understand? So what are the things that you spend your time on? And that is what is connecting us to this next conversation about time as a seed. Now, when we talk about time as a seed, time has 3 parts. I wish I had a picture of this. Let me see if I can find something that I can share with you here. Time has 3 components. If we look at time as a seed, oh, perfect. Oh, you've got to love the internets, like they call it. Okay, let me share this with you. Let me go to my screen here. Since this is a class, you might as well be patient with me. Save image as, okay. So let me go into this app here so that you can see what I'm trying to share with you. Eric, you've taken off your shirt, you're eating, everything is in front of you like this. You know we can all see you. Oh my goodness, this classroom is becoming more interesting. Just for the sake of everybody that is part of this, anything you're doing we can see, so you'll be aware, okay? So save yourself. Eric, wear your shirt back. We can see all your food, your boxers and everything live. This is global. Eh? Karupe mana asiri. Let me speak Hausa for you. Good. Okay, so let me bring this in here for the benefit of those who, I think the visual will help you here. Where's this link? Share. So I can share my screen. Okay. All right. Can you all see what I have on the screen now? Can you see it? Can you all see it? Okay, good. So if you look at this seed, a seed has three components. A seed has three parts. So when we're talking about time as a seed, I want you to think about this picture in your mind. A seed has three parts. The first part of a seed is referred to as the embryo. That is the green part, this green part. Can you all see what I'm doing? The green part of the seed right here is referred to as the embryo. In most times, it is referred to as, it is a small plant. It is a plant in itself, or a sample of that product that you're trying to accomplish. And by itself, it has everything that it needs to be successful. Do you understand? So when we're talking about time as a seed, think about it in these three dimensions. That time itself contains everything. Time in itself contains everything that you need to be successful. So time within itself contains an embryo. That's number one. That embryo has two sides, has a specific responsibility, because with time, you can birth your creativity, your passions. You know, when you spend quality time engaging your mind to create ways of solving problems, the mind begins to create what they call neural paths. Those neural paths have a singular responsibility, and that is to enable you know how to do things, to enable you know how to solve problems. It will help you in the pursuit and the accomplishment of your dreams. So you can convert time into the embryonic form, let me use that term, by spending time in creating solutions, in going over those challenges, dreaming, imagining, cultivating new habits. Anything that is vested towards that goal is your use of time in the form of in its embryonic form. All right. Then time also needs to be spent in the second piece of it, which is called the endosperm. If you look at this screen, think about the yellow side. So we've talked about the green segment. Let's talk about the yellow part or the gold part, depends on which color that you see it from. That is the endosperm. That is where you progress. That is where we talk about progressive growth. I mean, at this, the level of ease and achievement of your goals is directly proportionate to your capacity. This is where you develop capacity. This is where you build your stretch goals. This is where you design your solutions and how you go about solving problems. This is where you are forced to expand from where you are to where you need to be. Now, what is the role of the endosperm in any seed? Very simple. Whenever food, anything, information, any new knowledge, anything that has to add value to the embryo, anything that you need to allow that tiny plant, to allow that tiny idea to grow, you need to vest time in absorbing it. Because the job of the endosperm basically is to absorb nutrients, to hold everything that the plant needs, and the plant will continue to feed directly from the endosperm to ensure that it grows and becomes a plant of its own. And then the third part of it all is the encasement in the plant is referred to as the coat. This basically is the protective piece of the seed. There are some ideas that you have that you need to protect. There are some ideas that you have that you need to safeguard. It is not everybody that you need to share your ideas with. It is not every platform that you need to engage your idea in. Part of your time must be spent in encasing, enveloping, protecting your idea or your goals. Sometimes you spend time with certain people, immediately they'll just tell you that, we did that thing last year. It doesn't work. Don't waste your time. You understand? You need to know how to protect yourself from platforms that will steal those ideas from you, because there are factors that their primary responsibility is to steal your dreams. I mean, and these dreams and these factors, in my opinion, they are products of what we call reality. Let me explain what I mean by that. Reality will look at the circumstances around you, the experiences of other people around you, and all the noise and all the failures of other people around you, and use that to now tell you that, this thing that you're trying to accomplish is not possible. You know, it discourages you. So part of your time must be spent in protecting that idea. Now you're wondering, we're talking about goal setting, we're talking about accomplishing your goals. Why are we spending time talking about this? Because until you understand the significance and the use of your time, no matter what you want to achieve, forget about it if you don't know how to manage time properly. So it is important for you to, number one, focus on that dream, because that dream has everything it needs to succeed. You need to spend time, you need to invest time in creating neural paths, in creating solutions, in creating pathways on how to accomplish that. Number two, you have to give that dream everything it needs. In some cases, you need to develop new contacts, expand on your circle of influence. You need to get new knowledge, new information. In some cases, you need to take on new classes, new programs, anything that is required for you to become successful. And then thirdly, it is solely your responsibility to ensure that you protect that dream from being derailed or from being destroyed. So when we talk about time as a seed, I want you to remember these few statements. Number one, seeds are containers with everything required to become everything within its potential. Let me repeat that. Seeds are containers with everything required in order to become everything within its potential. Number two, seeds do not produce in isolation. Seeds do not produce in isolation of a fertile soil. That is the environment. If you remember from your training, we talked about the significance of environments, that your environment accounts for a minimum of 50% of your success factors. So the environment is very, very critical. That's why we're not only talking about the endosperm, we're not only talking about the encasement or the coating, but the environment in which you are trying to grow that idea as well plays a critical factor in helping you determine or in helping you succeed if you're going to succeed in the pursuit of that dream. So bear in mind that seeds do not produce in isolation of a fertile soil. And when we're talking about a fertile soil, we're talking about the environment. We're talking about nutrition, which also is information. And we're talking about light, insight, understanding, or the application. What do I mean by that? Let's assume you have a seed. This right here, I don't have a seed here, unfortunately. You know what? Give me 1 second. I have a seed for you. Okay. So, here we are. I have an orange right here. If you cut this orange open, within this orange are seeds, multiple seeds. Interestingly, if I'm to take out that seed, the ultimate desire for me is that planting that seed, I ultimately want to get more oranges, right? Good. But the seed by itself, if I were to take this seed, let's assume this is the seed. If I were to take this seed and keep it right here, all right, and I place it right here on this table, nothing is gonna happen. For the next 3 to 5 years, if that seed in itself sits there, it will just gather dust and that's it. But in order for the seed that is within this orange to produce, I have to do certain things. The first thing is that I need to take out the seed and put it in the soil. That is the environment. Take it and put it in the right soil. Number two, that soil, the engagement of that soil is where productivity begins to happen. It's where it begins to engage different factors. Like number one, it begins to connect with nutrition, not only with the fertility that comes with the soil, but it begins to, the endosperm begins to draw in water, food, supply, and everything that the plant in itself, the embryo, needs. Okay, so it's not just enough for you to say, hey, I have a great idea, because your idea is like a seed. It's not just enough to say, hey, I have a great idea. This is what I'm going to do in 2022. This is what I'm going to do in 2025. This is my goal for 2027. Yes, that is fantastic. But in order for all of that to come to fruition, there are things I need to do. I need to engage that idea. I need to engage that seed. And engaging it will now put it in a position where it begins to get nutrition. Nutrition refers to information, insight, depth, things that you need to know that will allow this seed to become productive or to become fruitful. The next, it's not enough. I still need light. Light, remember the process of photosynthesis. The process of photosynthesis has to do with the plant stretching towards the sunlight. Stretching, that is where you see it comes out as a little ear, it begins to bud, it begins to grow, it begins to spread, it begins to stretch towards the sun. That process is referred to as photosynthesis, where the plant has been able to interact with food and nutrition. That is what we call information around its environment. But now, based on the need for light or application, it is now stretching and growing. You need that application with your time. You need to invest your time in not just pursuing that dream, expanding your mind on what it could become, but also getting all the necessary information that is required, and then getting understanding and insight, light on what it takes for that idea to work, and then begin to walk through that process. All right? So all of these are necessary for you to accomplish your goals. Now, let's look at, having talked about the significance of time, let's talk a little bit more now about seeds. Those seeds produce only after their kind. What you invest your time in these three dimensions, like I said, what you use your time, remember I said time is a seed. What you spend your time doing will determine what you produce. Because oranges can only produce oranges. Apples can only produce apples. If all you do is sit down and watch Z World, you will become an expert at Z World. If all you do is spend your time watching CNN or being on Facebook or Instagramming, Snapchatting, Facebooking, or however way you want to call it, if all you do is play around, that is also what you will produce. You cannot produce what you have not invested time to create. So that's why I said time is a seed. So what you use your time, or what you invest your time in generating, will determine what you ultimately produce. Am I following? Are you following me so far? Is everybody with me so far? Good. Joe, you look as if you're sleeping. All right. So, all right, good. I see you're awake. Most of you, I can see everybody on my screen. So mind your behavior. Now, the other thing is, not only is time a seed, as it were, it produces after its kind, but also bear in mind that seeds have a shelf life and can fade in quality if unused, meaning that time is limited. Your time is limited. You cannot keep wasting time. There are certain things that have deadlines. There are certain opportunities that you will miss out on because you did not prepare on time. You were not ready in that season. Those opportunities will come and go. So it is so critical for you to understand the significance of time as a seed. All right? So now, having said that, let's continue to the next phase. Let's talk about the dimensions of yourself. There are 7 dimensions of self. There are 7 dimensions of self that I think are very important for each of us to look at. The 7 dimensions of self, and I'm going to list them out, and I will encourage you to write this down. The first 4 are what psychology presents us as what we call the dimensions of self. The first is your health, the dimension of your health. All right. The second dimension is the dimension of your wealth, talking about your finances. Okay. The third is what we refer to as your social circle. All right. Your social dimension, the social dimension of your life. And then the fourth is your personal dimension, things that are very personal to you. These are the first 4, or in psychology, I refer to as the 4 dimensions of self. But as I studied that subject more, I realized that there are dimensions of, in order for me to have clarity in accomplishing my goals, there are certain things that I needed to separate from those 4 dimensions. Now, I will go through each of those dimensions one by one and expound on it so that it will help you become successful in pursuing your goals. One of the challenges that many of us have, and why we don't accomplish our goals, is that we have so many goals. We have goals that are not balanced. We have goals that are not clear. We just believe that if we can write 500 things that we want to accomplish, it makes us feel good. And then we can be going around town like herbalists with this long list of people like, this year, this is the year, this year. No. It's not about having 15 goals. It's about having goals that are clear, that you know you can work towards. Now, you heard me say on this call that I have 3 goals for 5 years. Why? Everything that I want to accomplish, everything that I desire, be it a personal goal, be it a financial goal, be it a social goal, all of those things are encased within those 3 things, those 3 goals. Let me give you a simple example now. Let me just look at my screen here and I'll just call names. Okay, let's say Nancy says her goal is to build a new house. Joseph's goal is to buy a new car. Togo's goal is to go to university and get a master's degree. Tonye's goal is to buy 15 acres to start farming. Kemi's goal is to go on vacation every year to the UK, and then Beatrice's goal is to send her kids to a private school. So we have all of these goals, all right? Diverse, and the more we think about the goals, it begins to spread and spread and spread. And that is how many of us pursue our goals. We itemize things. But do you know that I can take all of those goals and make it one goal? I can say my goal is that I want to have $1 million. That's it. Now, that $1 million that I have has sent your family on vacation. It has sent you to school. It has provided for the house you want to buy. It's gotten you the car that you desire. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? In clearing our goals, it is important you have a goal that is very clear. But the key thing that you must remember is that it's not about having 5, 6, 7 goals. It's about having 1 or 2 or maximum 3 goals that covers every aspect of your life. And that way, your focus is singular. You are focused on pursuing just that one thing, because that one thing has the power to produce everything else you are desiring for. So instead of you saying, my goal is to have 3 children, get married first. Once you're married, it will produce the platform for having those children. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? There are goals that you have that are pregnant with everything that you've itemized. Now, I am not saying throw away your list of 500 things you want to accomplish. No, have them. but those things should not be your focus. You should find a way to summarize those 500 things into one thing, and let that one thing be your passion. Let that one thing be your focus. And now let me quickly say this as a by thought. We'll get into more of it. When you are thinking about goals in that sense, please remember that certain things that you call a goal is actually a means to an end. Don't lose sight of that. I really need to let you understand that. For instance, you may say, I want to make 100 million naira this year in my business. That is my goal. For you, some people would think that that is your destination. But please remember, bear it in mind, for some people, that is their ultimate goal. Make 100 million and they believe they just want to live comfortably for the rest of their life. Nowadays, 100 million won't get you that far. But the truth is that you need to be clear in your mind. Is this goal a means to an end? And what is that end? That end is your lifetime goal. Now, remember I showed you 3 things that I say I focus on. RPM. I'm not going to tell you what those things mean. They're acronyms that they are mine. It's only me, concern only me, is my business. All right. Those 3 letters are things that I need to accomplish in the next 5 years. So I call those my short-term goals. And those short-term goals will feed into my mid-term goals and will ultimately feed into my lifetime goals. So with every timeline, I am measuring how successful I am in pursuing those things. So here I am in 2019, looking at my 2022 goals and asking myself, when I started this journey in 2017, have I reached the halfway mark? Have I accomplished 50% of the things that I want to accomplish? Am I on my way? Have I looked at the year-to-date data, the analysis, to see, am I on track? If I am not on track, what are the things that I need to do to expedite the process? What are the things I am doing wrong? I am constantly evaluating my progress in order to make sure that I am on track with accomplishing that 5-year goal. The same principle should apply to your annual goals. Okay, I'm using that as an example. Like the folks who are in the PTNX program, they're all working towards a 3 to 5 year goal, but ultimately they will have to break it down to monthly, to yearly goals, to monthly goals, to weekly goals, to a point where it is actually a daily run. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You cannot build a city without taking individual steps. It does not happen. Skyscrapers do not just come out of the sky because you wished for it. There are things that must be done. There has to be the laying of a foundation. Before the foundation is laid, you have to go and get certain materials. There's an architect has to design something. There is a meticulous process that goes from start to finish, and it all begins with an idea. Somebody said, I would like to build a skyscraper. It was an idea. But in order for that idea to become a physical skyscraper, so much time, as seed, energy, and resources have gone into the process intentionally, meticulously, over an extended period of time to ensure that that desired objective comes to fruition. So you must stay fixed and focused on your goals. So back to where I was saying, I was talking about the 4 dimensions of self. The 4 dimensions of self, or the dimensions of self, help you to balance out your goals to make sure that you are well-rounded. Some people just want to have financial goals. If I just have 100 million now, all my problem is solved. We both know. Let me tell you, if somebody writes you a check, okay, I have a check here that I've written to myself for next year, all right? I wrote this check to myself because it's always on my table here, because every time I open the check, I open the drawer, I see this check that I've written to myself. Now, the interesting thing is, you may have written a check like this and that check comes to fruition. Let me ask you this. What if you fall sick? What becomes your priority? Your money or your health? Do you understand what I'm saying? So while you're busy pursuing your goals, it's important to have a balanced life. Very, very important to have a balanced life. So you must have goals in all four dimensions. The dimension of your health. Why? Because your health is the singular factor that determines your success in every other area. You fall sick, nothing else matters. You fall sick and you cannot find a cure, it does not matter how much money you have. Do you understand my point? Wealthy people are dying of cancer. Wealthy people are dying of HIV. Wealthy people are dying from all kinds of things. Money cannot solve those problems. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Money can help you find solutions, but it does not solve it. So it is important for you to have a health goal. What are your health goals for 2019? Are they clear? And when we're talking about these goals, each of these goals must meet the SMART criteria, meaning that they must be specific, very, very specific. For instance, one person you may say, hey, I'm struggling with my weight, I need to lose weight. For another person, you're like, I need to add weight too. For another person, you're like, I need to eat better. I need to have better nutrition. I can't just be eating all these fast foods. For some people, your only problem in this life is Yahuza. If you and Yahuza can just divorce, your life is settled. All right? Everybody has their, and when I say Yahuza, it's the Northerners understand what I'm saying. I don't know if there's Yahuza in Port Harcourt or not, or Yola. But the point is that there are just certain things that you know are holding you back health-wise. It is important for you to develop a goal to keep you healthy, to keep you well, to keep you strong. All right? Then let's talk a little bit. Let me talk a little bit now about these health goals. Let me talk a little bit about health goals. When we're talking about health goals, there are certain things that we want to focus on. No matter how big or no matter how good your goals are, you must pay attention. You must pay attention to your health. Why? Because if your health fails, everything is on hold. If your health fails, everything is on hold. There are three dimensions of your health that you need to pay attention to, and I want you to remember these. Number one, your wellness. Number two, your nutrition. Number three, your physical body. When we talk about your wellness, what we're talking about, the state of your mind. You must, your entire well-being, your mind, your spirit, your soul, you must be, you see, when we're talking about, there are certain ailments like depression, hypertension, all these things are a product of a failed well-being. Okay, like in my case, everybody understands, you should know how your body works. Okay, I have a lot of things going. My body for me is always, my body is always a gauge that tells me how I am doing health-wise. If I find myself becoming stressed, I know immediately. My body immediately begins to react to it. And so you know what triggers stress in your body. The moment I begin to feel certain ways, I immediately realize I am stressed. And what do? I intentionally slow down. Once my body begins to feel certain ways, I begin to ask myself, what's wrong? And I find myself overthinking certain things or worrying about certain things or being stressed out about certain things. And I immediately, intentionally, very deliberately take a step back and say, hey, you know what? There's no point dying over this thing. Calm down. It's going to be okay. All right? So your well-being is critical because that is where your peace comes from. That is where your joy comes from. And what most of us don't realize is that when you're peaceful, when you're joyous, when you're happy, your creativity, your passion for solutions also increases. There is a correlation. There is a one-to-one correlation between your success in your body and your success in your mind. So it is very, very critical for you to pay attention to the things that cause you stress. Your well-being must be paramount. Number two, nutrition, the things that you eat. Pay attention to what you eat. And please, let me talk to you as Nigerians, as Africans. We have the best of both worlds. And let me explain what I mean. When I mean we have the best of both worlds, most of our food in that part of the world is is organic, okay? Because we produce it raw, we don't have too much fertilization, too much chemicals. A lot of times we have organic food is cheap in Nigeria. It's cheaper in Nigeria. In this part of the world, if you find organic, you have to pay 3 times what you will pay for the normal one. You understand what I'm trying to say? So take advantage of the organic foods that we have. Somebody will say, this fowl is native, this fowl is agric. Which one do you prefer? Agric is bigger. Yes, but do you know the kind of hormones that they've pumped into that thing to make it bigger? Do you understand my point? The agric one is trekking all over your neighborhood. You see the guy, when you're coming back from school, you see him trekking the dustbin. I mean, only God knows what they eat. But guess what? It's not, that's why when you're trying to bite the meat, even yourself, the meat is saying, I'm not going anywhere. Do you know where I've trekked to? I mean, you can see the biceps inside the thigh of the chicken. But agric, you just put in water, the whole thing is falling apart because the chemical is giving way. Do you understand my point? So try to pay attention to your nutrition, the things that you eat is very, very important. I will encourage you, eat more fruits, eat more vegetables, eat more things. I know, I can see, I'm looking at all your faces, particularly all the men. I don't know what it is with you and meat. I don't know, it's like they serve you, if they serve you food, if the meat is not falling out of the plate, it's as if your ministry has been threatened. Save yourself. Cut back on meat. It will help you. Devouring half a cow all by yourself in one sitting is not an accomplishment. Do you understand? I mean, you get up and say, see, Bokoto, U-turn, Randa, but only you one human being. I mean, you literally desecrated an entire quarter of another animal's child. You think that's a success factor? So cut back, particularly men. Please cut back on meats. It will help you. Cut back as much as you can. Because you see that Michelin man that is going on around your waist. It has nothing to do with Buhari's change. It has everything to do with stuff that you're eating. At 9 o'clock at night, for God's sake, 9 p.m. at night, you are saying that I'm an African man, I must eat swallow. Why? Why? Go and eat. Tell your wife to give you some salad, or eat some salad or some vegetables or something, or take a glass of juice and go to sleep. It's not a sin. Must you eat 3 square meals a day? So do what you need to do to live a healthy life. Right now, I'm looking at the time. I was watching Eric, his Dr. Enoch. I saw him swallowing some things. I mean, at 9 p.m. at night, I was concerned for him. And then he had 2 big bottles of Coke standing there side by side, for one to go forward as John the Baptist to clear the path. Then when the swallow follows, then the other one will be the protocol officer following at the back. Then when you wake up in the morning, you now find out that some things are happening. And you're wondering, you say it's the people from the village. No, it's not the people from the village. It's decisions that we make. Do you understand what I'm saying? So pay attention to what you eat. It is very, very important. Begin to read up on things like nutrition so that you will know what adds value to you and what does not. Here's the truth. A lot of the things that we eat does not add any nutritional value to us. A lot of things that we eat add no nutritional value whatsoever. So it is very important that we pay attention to our nutrition as well. And then, of course, to your physical body. What am I saying? Find time to exercise. If you don't have a gym membership, find time to go running or if you're not running, find time to make sure that when you go to a building, rather than use the elevator, use the stairs. Do whatever is necessary to raise up your heart rate so that you can feel better. You see, our bodies are very, very amazing entities. A lot of times when you are abusing your body physically, mentally, and otherwise, your body will tell you, it will give you signals. You will know something is not right. Instead of now sitting down to say, I don't understand how I'm feeling. Pay attention to what your body is trying to tell you. It's trying to tell you that you are doing something wrong. Stop it. If you don't, it's going to become problems for you. All right. So spend time to pay attention and come up with clear health goals. Number 2, you need to have wealth goals or financial goals. Now, here's what I want you to do. Let's do something very simple real quick. Write this down. Anybody will become financially independent within 3 to 7 years. Go ahead and write it down. Anybody will become financially independent within 3 to 7 years. And I'll give you the points to emphasize this. All right. Anybody, you can insert your name there, will become financially independent within 3 to 7 years. Now, when I teach this process, or when we discuss this process, we start out by saying anybody can become financially independent within 3 to 7 years. But you see, anybody is nobody. But by the time you put your name and you say, Nenna can become financially independent in 3 to 7 years, it becomes a lot more personal. Nancy can become financially independent in 3 to 7 years. God is good can become independent within 3 to 7 years. Uriel can become independent within 3 to 7 years. Laura can become independent. You see, once you say it, you say it to yourself, it becomes a lot more personable, but it is still not there. But when you say, Hakeem will, one word, changing that word can to will changes the dynamics of your mindset. So when I say Hakeem will become financially independent within 3 to 7 years, it also stirs up a desire to act. Because when I say can, it is still optional, meaning it is a probability, it is a possibility. But when I say will, I am removing every option to say this is not a choice. So I want you to start looking at your financial goals in that sense. What will you become in 2019? Your financial goals, what will you attain in the next 3 to 7 years? What are those goals? Begin to see it with a will mindset rather than a can mindset. So it is very important that you take the time to write it down clearly. Elizabeth will become financially independent in the next 3 to 7 years, or whatever goal you have, Shaq will become XYZ in his finances in 2019. You have to be very, very specific, clear. It has to be something that is measurable. Don't be saying, in 2019, I'll become a millionaire. What kind of nonsense is that? What does that mean? Millionaire in what? In yen, in naira, in dollars? You see, once it is so generic, it becomes impossible to pursue. So even if you say, okay, I want to become financially independent, what does financial independence mean? Because you see, the guy who is the fisherman in the village is financially independent. Don't you know? They go fishing and come back and they pay NEPA bill. They are good. But what does financial independence mean to you? There are certain people, there are people in my village right there, in Port Harcourt, that if I give 1 million, they can manage that 1 million for the next 20 years. I mean, without having any additional income, they'll just be spending, like 1,000 every, 1,000 or 300 here and there, and they'll be fine. But another person's lifestyle is completely different. So based on your lifestyle, based on the things that you desire, what does financial independence look like to you? What are your wealth goals? You have to draw up a clear wealth goal. If your ultimate goal is to have 50 million, 50 million, does that translate to 5 million a year at a 10% return on investment? So you've developed a mechanism that produces 5 million, or are you looking for 1 million a month, which means you have to up that thing to about 120 million? Or are you looking for just something to be doing, meaning you're constantly working to be creating money, or are you looking for something that will create money for you? Be clear as to what your financial goals are. Be specific about it, and then you will find yourself on the right path. And here is the amazing thing that people don't realize. And please write this down, this is very important. Until your goals become clear, helpers will not show up. Once your goals become clear, you will begin to realize that certain people will begin to show up in your life. And those people will bring the opportunities that you are prepared for. If you're not prepared, those people will not find you. Or if they come across you, they'll look at you like you're not serious, and they'll not even consider you for those opportunities. So having invested your time in preparation, remember the dimension of the seed, time as a seed, the endosperm. You've gotten information, knowledge, insight, you are applying the encasement. Once you started growing through the process, the right people will come and they'll just say, hey, Angela, I'm thinking of doing so and so. Because you have prepared yourself and your mind is constantly looking out for opportunities for you to express that idea, you'll immediately say, hey, what do you think about this? And they'll look at you and say, hey, you know what? You're right. So what is your level of preparation? It must factor in and play into your goals. Your goals have to be very, very, very clear. I cannot emphasize that enough. Your goals must be very, very clear. Okay, next. Not only your health goals and your wealth goals, but you must also have a social goal, or the social dimension of your life. And when we're talking about the social dimension of your life, we're talking more about your relationships, your network of influence, the people that you connect with, your family, all of these people, because they play a critical role in who you are. Now, it's not only important for you. There is something that I do regularly that I want to encourage each of you to do. I want to encourage you to constantly evaluate your circle. Constantly. What does that mean? Every year, ask yourself, me and Elizabeth, we've been friends for the last 5 years. What value has she added to me? Is she pulling me down, or are we growing together? Tony and I, we've been doing business for the last few years. He's just taking. Maybe it's time for me to let him go and look for people that can add value to me. Nancy and I, every time I come around Nancy, I just feel depressed. Maybe it's time to shut that relationship down. Are you constantly evaluating your relationship? So what are your social goals in your family area? Say maybe you say, okay, I want to become a better husband. What does that mean? Becoming a better husband does not mean anything. Put some measurable data to it. Why do you feel you need to become a better husband? Maybe because you come home late all the time and your wife has prepared food and you just walk away. Or maybe you're always yelling at the kids, or maybe you're just being mean to your spouse. what does it mean to be a better husband? Identify what it is that you're doing wrong and put some yardsticks around it so that you can measure it. Don't forget what a goal is. A goal is something that you desire in the future that you presently do not possess now, even though you have the potential to attain it. That is what a goal is. A goal is simply something that you desire, but you do not possess in the present, even though you have the potential for it, but you're willing to do whatever is necessary to attain it over a period of time. That's why it has to be smart. It has to be specific. It has to be measurable. How do you know you have become a better husband? Because you realize instead of coming home at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock every morning, or at 11 o'clock, everybody has slept, you intentionally start coming home by 7. By 7, you're home. By 9, you're home. Or if for any reason you're running late, you call her and say, hey, Fumi, sorry, I'm caught up in the office. We have this meeting. We're doing blah, 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 blah. But I'll be home by 9:30 today, by the time we get done. You see, once you begin to, everybody around you sees those results. Once you begin to work on goals that are measurable, they are also visible. So it is very, very critical for you to constantly develop goals that you can measure. Don't just come up with random things because they sound good to the ear. They have to be things that you'll be able to measure as well. Okay? Now, the next point, develop personal goals. Personal goals focus more on, personal goals a lot of times are relative to your capacity. Personal goals have a lot to do with your individual growth, with your sense of fulfillment. Do you understand my point? Maybe for you, a personal goal may be going back to school to get an advanced degree. But you see, getting an advanced degree may serve your career. It may serve your finances because you get a raise on the job and all of that good stuff. But it still brings something, that sense of accomplishment, that pride that comes with fulfillment, that, wow, I'm the first person in my family. That one, they cannot pay you enough with it on your job. Do you understand my point? So there are things that you can benefit. There are things that are very personal things that you want to achieve. I will encourage you to have clear goals. So in these 4 dimensions, in the dimension of your health, in the dimension of your wealth, in the dimension of your social circles, and in the dimension of your personal life, you must have clear goals. Clear, measurable, very specific, achievable, realistic. And we've already defined the timeline, 12 months. For some of you, it may be 3 to 5 years. But let me tell you something that is very important. In setting your goals, don't just set goals because they sound good to the ear. Evaluate where you are now and ask yourself realistically, the 4th element of the SMART criteria. Am I positioned to bring this dream to reality? There's work. I'm not saying just pursue a goal that you can easily achieve. Set stretch goals, but they have to be things that you have at least the raw materials or the ingredient to pursue. Otherwise, you are just pursuing the figment of your imagination, a fantasy that will never come to fruition. All right? So it is very, very important. It is very, very important for you to actually work consistently towards achieving those goals that you want to attain. So now let me give you the other goals or the other dimensions that I talked about. I said that there are 4 criteria that psychology and the study of the sciences, behavioral sciences, talk about, these 4. But I also came up with vocational dimension of your life, because I believe it is important for you to set aside a dimension of your life that focuses on your work. All right. That vocational side will feed into so many things. It will feed into your finances. If you're a high performer, it will feed into your personal dimension, because you have a sense of fulfillment for doing a good job. It will feed into your well-being, your peace of mind, because you're able to provide for your family and all of that stuff. So having a clear vocational goal, I think, is equally important. The sixth part is having a spiritual goal. I say this because most of you on this platform are Christians or Muslims, and you all have a spiritual dimension of your life. And it is very, very important for you to have a clear spiritual goal. Now, think about this. Somebody says, my goal, my spiritual goal this year is to have a better relationship with God. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. You know the areas of deficiency. Maybe you need to spend more time reading the word. Maybe you need to put some metrics around that. Maybe you need to spend more time fellowshipping with other people from your church or other believers. Maybe in your case, you need to spend more time praying. Maybe in your case, it may be breaking away from certain habits. Whatever is your case that will help you develop that stronger relationship with God or boost your spiritual well-being, identify those things and make them a target and focus on it. Now, there is a seventh dimension, which I call miscellaneous or others. Why? Because there may be a dimension of your life that nobody else can understand. There are over 7 billion people on earth, and we're all unique, we're all different. What is that dimension of your life that does not fit into those 6 categories? You can come up with one. If you don't have one, that is fine. Not every one of us should have one. I have 7, that's why I'm sharing it with you. The behavioral sciences show us that there are 4, but I'm telling you that I personally feel it's necessary to segment this into 6 or 7 categories and then have at least one goal for each of those 7 dimensions and figure out how to wrap all those 7 goals or 8 or 10 goals or however many you come up with in those 6, 7 dimensions and wrap it up into 1, 2, maximum 3 goals that answers everything and start working your way towards the super goal, because that in itself will birth everything that you desire. Because by the time you're focused in one dimension, other dimensions of your life are going to keep suffering. Now, one key area that many of us are so focused on, particularly in places like Nigeria, is the financial goal. And that's why I posted this in the side there. It is very important to understand that when it comes to your wealth goals, number one, you must create a picture of that future that you call comfortable. There is a picture. What do you see yourself doing? What does comfort look like to you? Create that picture in your mind. Number 2, create a system that works, meaning, are you going to be working constantly to be generating more income? Or are you developing a capital system that will be producing a return on investment? Are you starting a business? What is it that you will call comfort? What do you need to do to make that system work? Number 3, you have to be intentional. You have to be focused. You have to stay on task. All right. If your goal is to accumulate and gather or build a wealth system, you cannot be dashing people money everywhere and anyhow just because they greeted you. Your life must be based strictly on a budget. You have to work smarter. You have to work harder. You have to stay focused on whatever it is that you want to achieve, because you have taken the time to set very, very clear financial goals. Take the time to do this in the area of your finances. It is very, very critical. Otherwise, anything that you call a financial goal will just be a mirage. All right? So now, having said all of that, let me jump to this last piece here. Let me jump to this next piece. I'm looking at our time. We'll have about a half hour less to go, about a half hour to go. So I want to make sure that at least we'll cover all of this piece. The last part of all of this is, what is the price that you need to pay in order for you to achieve your goals? Because now we've discovered this, we've discussed what I call the 7 dimensions of self. But in order for us to connect the dots from where we are to where we want to be, there is always a price that needs to be paid. Have you identified what that price is? What are the things that you need to do? For some of you, you need to become more informed. For some of you, you need to attend certain classes. For some of you, you need to identify a mentor. For some of you, you need to take certain training. For some of you, you need to eat less. For some of you, you need to eat more. For some of you, you need to spend less. For some of you, you need to go back and apologize to that person that you know is your destiny helper. But your pride has not allowed you say to, who is it only them? I mean, I will show them. And you are the one suffering. Humble yourself under the mighty hands of God. And go and say, I know you're younger than me. I know you're less educated than me. But I was wrong. Please, don't be annoyed. You know, sometimes old age makes us do stupid things. Look, there is no pride in trying to help your life. You understand? You're just standing there. Can't you see the gray hair on my head? Do I have no respect? Okay, die with your gray hair. How has that helped your life? Calm down. Calm down. In fact, the day you're going to go see the person, make sure the whole gray hairs and everything are showing and say, fool me. It's the devil. It's the devil. It runs in my family. Once a year, it shows up. And this time, it took over. Please, don't be annoyed. Look, it's not about the... Do you know the funny thing? Apology does not take anything away from you. Look, saying you're sorry does not... Listen, there are people that I know I did not offend. But because I care about them, because I love them, because I want to have a good relationship with them, I will apologize if that's what it takes. So saying sorry does not, listen, saying you're sorry does not diminish your degree at all. As a matter of fact, it increases your pedigree. So saying you just like me, apologize. They never born them. Sit there now. Look, I don't care if you're younger than me, older than me, more accomplished than me, whatever it is. If I value our relationship, whether you think I'm right or wrong does not matter. If I believe coming to say I'm sorry will solve the problem, I will just come and say, well, I'm really sorry. I think I messed up. Inside of me, I know I did not mess up. But you know what? You needed to hear it for us to move on. And I am sincerely saying it, I am sorry. Okay? Because I know that is what you need to hear for us to move on. Because if not, for the last 6 years, your conversation begins like this. February 2nd, 2013, around Rumokoro in Port Harcourt. This boy, that when you start conversations by February 3rd of 2013, every time, and everybody knows, by the time you're saying February 13, everybody helps you complete 2013. You know you have a problem. So apologize. I'm looking at some of the faces of some of you. There are several of you that I have apologized to. Not because I believe I did anything wrong, but I realized that, first of all, you are upset about something, which I may not be able to see what you see, but I think it is valid enough for me to apologize because I realize that in your heart, I may have offended you and I may not see it that way, but the right thing to do is to apologize. Now, if I believe it is something that you can learn from, I will also tell you that, you know what, this is the reason why I did what I did, all right? And I could be wrong or I was wrong, all right? Forgive me. And we're good. We shake hands, we hug, whatever it is, and life goes on. All right? But for you to now sit down and build an entire monument based on somebody's offense. And the sad thing is that the person that you're offended, the person that offended you does not even know. Does not even know. You're sitting down in the same room with the person and you're huffing and puffing and the person is smiling, enjoying their life. You know, it's so funny. Get past that point and begin to make something valuable of your life. Nothing wrong with apologizing. If you offended a person or if you think you offended a person, go to them, tell them you're sorry, apologize, life goes on. Because here's what you don't realize. That person that you've been holding a grudge with for the last 6 years may be the one holding the key to the next level of your life. That person might be the one that knows who to call, that will give you access to that thing that you've been looking for the last 3 to 5 years. Never be offended. You may be disappointed. The outcomes that you desired may not come to pass, but never, ever take offense to a degree where you cannot communicate with a person. All right? So please do not forget that. Can family not stand as one area? Martin is asking, can family not stand as one area? Yes, your family goals falls under what we call your social circle. Remember, what we're trying to do is to categorize the different dimensions of your life. We're putting them in circles. Why we say that social circle? Because family, friends, colleagues, anything that has to do with human interaction is a product of the society, is a product of our engagement. So have those set aside. The reason why we do this is so that it can streamline the number of goals you have. You don't have to have goals all over the place. Now, underneath each of those, you can have different categories. Now, if you remember when I talked about the social circles, I talked about your network, I talked about your family, and all the different things that you can do there. So you may have a goal that is specific to your family or to your relationships, but it is all part of your social goals. All right? So don't lose track of that. Now, let's talk. I'm going to let's use the next half hour because it seems I've shared a lot of information in the last 90 minutes. Sometimes just being able to discuss a challenge might be helpful. So what I'm going to do is that you have the ability to unmute yourself, because right now everybody's muted, but you have the ability to unmute yourself. So let's use the next half hour to answer questions. If you have a question, there are two ways you can put those questions. You can either type it in the chat and I will respond to it, or you can unmute the line, introduce yourself 3 ways. 1, your name, where you're from, and then you ask your question. All right? So if you have a question, please either you post it as a comment in the chat and I will respond to it, or you can ask the question and I will answer you. But let us know your name, where you're calling from, and then your question. So the lines are open, okay? Lines are open. Any questions? Any questions with regards to your goals? So, or anything that comes to your mind? There are no questions? Okay. All right. Well, if there are no questions, then I'll have questions for you and I'm going to pick you up randomly. I'm going to pick you up randomly to answer the questions. Is that okay? Fumi, let me start with you. What are, or how far gone are you with your 2019 goals in your career? Let's talk about your career goals. 2019, what are your 2 things I'm looking for you are, number 1, what are your 2019 career goals? And then number 2, What percentage of those have you accomplished? You're keeping people waiting.
Okay. Okay.
And if you don't have any set career goals, it's okay to say you haven't set them yet. It's okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
My name is Fumi Bulewo. My 2019 career goals, one of my major goals is to actually change my job role. So just to have a view of another job role within my financial services sector. And I think I've gone, I'll say 30, I've achieved like 30% or 40% of that goal for this year. And hopefully I intend to achieve 100% by the end of the year.
Okay.
And basically to have a wider look on my change of role, basically. So by the end of the year, I should have at least accomplished 100%. But now I'm like 30%. I've achieved 30% of that.
All right, very good. Thank you for sharing. All right. Before I pick the next person, any volunteers? Any questions?
I have a question, sir.
Yes, please.
I don't know. I was hoping you could throw a bit more light on the Mr.
Please go ahead, ask your question.
I just asked.
You said share a little bit more light on what?
Yeah, the miscellaneous goal, that's the last one.
The miscellaneous goal simply is anything that does not fall, that you believe does not fall in the first 6 categories. Remember, we talked about the mandatory categories, the 4 dimensions of self, which are health, wealth, social, personal. Then I gave you two optional ones, which are vocational and spiritual. Now, if there is a goal or something that you want to achieve that in your mind does not fit well into those, it typically would, to be honest with you, it fits into all of those. But if for any reason you feel that this other goal I want to separate, then it is okay to create that one separate. Like for instance, there are certain people who feel, yes, they have a vocation, they have a job and all of that. They have personal goals about personal development and all of that, build a house for themselves. But maybe they want to do some kind of, they want to be involved in the community, maybe build a, start a community movement, or you understand what I'm trying to say? And they don't want to factor that in because it's something that they feel should be a standalone. Do you understand? They can create that. Or maybe you're somebody who decides, by the time you're 40, you want to be living on the moon. Something that does not fit with the basic criteria. I don't know. The thing that I'm saying is that most goals can fit into the first 4. Even when expanded, can fit into the 6. But what if you have something that you feel needs to be a standalone? That's why it's called others. It's not mandatory, but it is just there as an extra bucket for anybody else that needs it. Remember, I told you that according to behavioral sciences and the social sciences, there are 4 dimensions of self: health, wealth, social, and personal. But I added vocational and spiritual just for myself, and I think it will benefit you, which is why I shared it. All right? The same thing with the optional. It's up to you. If you have something else you want to add, you can add that as well. It's not something that is critical. It's not mandatory. Answer your question?
Thank you, sir.
All right. Anybody else?
Sir, can someone say contribution.
Your name?
I'm Eric Enoch,
Where
sir.
you at?
Eric Enoch, sir.
Yes,
From Yola.
I can see who's talking, but for the benefit of others.
Okay, sir. He said under these social goals, can one look at contribution to community as a part of the social goals, or one can actually take it as an item, as one of the dimensions that one could add from the others you said that we can add?
It would depend. It would depend. If it is for some people, that social work is their career, it's their vocation. So it can fall as a vocational goal. It could be something that you do on the side as a volunteer service or as a passion. It could fall as a personal goal. It could fall as so it all depends. Like I said, these categories are just there. The categories are there to serve as a guide, but they are not strict to say this is how the goals. They're there to serve as a guide, but they're not there necessary to say this is how it must be for you. All right, that's all I'm saying. So I'm assuming that that goal it has to be a certain way. No, you decide what falls into what category.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. And how?
Sir, I need more. I was swallowing tuoma, Sarah, but it was not too. Can't take coke at night. Sir, I have a question, or I need more clarity on the issue of you said until your goals become clear, helpers will not show up. When you say helpers in terms of, is it that when your goals are clear, you now begin to find the people that will come, or the helpers themselves will locate you? Because when people don't know your goals or your vision, they may not key in. So is there a way that you do you have a part to play in helping the helpers to show up, if I can use that expression?
Okay. Well, once the way you can help the helpers to show up is for you to make the vision clear. Let me look here. Everybody here is a Christian. So let me use this. The Bible says in Habakkuk, it says that write the vision, make it plain, so that he that reads it can run with it. You understand? Once your vision is clear, people will begin to recognize the areas where they can help you. People will begin to see where they fit in. People will begin to see where you're going to and know how to help you or how to engage you. That's what we're saying. But if the vision is not clear, if what you're trying to achieve is not clear, I mean, even the people around you will not even know what you're trying to accomplish. So even if there's an opportunity that you could benefit from, they won't even know that you need it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So
but at times when you make your goals clear, you attract what we call erasers, because once they see that your goal can lead to greater achievements and possibly significance for you, you may get erasers that will try to discourage you from doing that. So how do we identify people that when you make your goals clear and you've written it and they show up, but they really show up not to help you achieve the goal, but to be erasers? So how do we identify such people, sir?
One of the things that we talked about earlier, we talked about that you should also spend some time to protect your seed. Remember we talked about the 3 dimensions of the seed? We talked about the investment. We said that time must also be invested in protecting your idea or your seed. Now, the question is, how do you identify them?
Yes, sir.
By their fruit, by their conduct, you will know them. You know what you want to achieve. You know where you want to go. You know what adds value to you. So when people come on board, you can easily tell if they're adding value or if they're taking away from you. If they're taking away from you, then you push them to the side. If they're adding value to you, you pull them closer. That's the way it works. You see, even those that are adding value to you, there are times where they will make mistakes. They will do things that will frustrate you or that will cause you to, to pull you back or whatever it is. The key thing is that you want to be able to ask yourself, is this person doing this intentionally to stop me from progressing, or is this an honest mistake? If it is an honest mistake, correct them and move forward from that point on. If it is not, if it is a deliberate act of sabotage to stop you from accomplishing your goals, then you push them out of your circle. It's just that simple. There are no 1, 2, 3 steps on how to identify people that will derail your dream. If you find it, please share with me. I'm open to that idea as well. All right.
Okay, sir.
But it's a progressive thing. You should be able to sense and know those that are adding value to you and who are. In fact, since we're here in the general class, I'm going to pick on Fumi now. She's my go-to harassment person. So, Fumi has been with me has been part of PTN from day one, from the very beginning. And Fumi has added tremendous value to PTN across Nigeria. But Fumi has made some very, very, very terrible mistakes. In fact, a lot of times, in fact, I'm stricter on Fumi than I am with pretty much 99% of you. Why? Because I have very high expectations of her. I have very high demands from her because she has a lot more access than pretty much all of you. And so when there are certain mistakes that she makes, in my mind, I'm like, I can't comprehend that you do this. Like, let me give you a classic example. Just a few days ago, we had a class. We had a PTNX class, and I'm just sharing this openly. We're all part of the same family. We had a PTNX class scheduled for 2 o'clock my time. But at 1 o'clock, I had to do a live broadcast. So I think there was confusion on the timing because it said GMT, and a lot of the people in the class did not take the time to do the conversion. So they just went into the class thinking it was for 1 o'clock. And so at about 1:05, 1:15, I'm already doing a live broadcast. And then Fumi is calling my phone. She's just calling and saying, where are you? That everybody's, and she's not doing a bad thing. She was calling to say, hey, everybody's in class. We're ready to go. Where are you? And all of that. But in my head, I'm thinking, you should know my schedule enough that I am scheduled to be doing a live broadcast now. I cannot, I'm going to be within 1 hour time. And I remember sending her a message and, and then she responded immediately and said, oh, I am so sorry. I didn't realize that. Now, my mind, what I was thinking, and that was a very honest mistake, but in my mind, I'm thinking, you are part of all of these programs. You ought to know my schedule. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? That was where I was coming from. But even later on, I had to tell her, I say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. Maybe I should have realized that, there's a lot of, maybe it was an honest mistake and all of that stuff. Because I'm thinking in my head, because I'm in the middle of something and then my phone is going off and I'm just like, why is she calling me? She's supposed to know that I'm doing this thing right now, So when you have set expectations from certain people, you see them in a specific light and you know what you demand from them. You understand what I'm trying to say? So your relationships is going to differ based on the individual, your expectations from them, the contribution that they can bring, and all of that good stuff that goes with it. So there is no textbook way of, at least to the best of my knowledge, if, like I said, if please share with me. I'm all up for that. I don't know any textbook way of identifying destiny helpers. You can identify them when they're helping you, and sometimes they may help you halfway, and halfway through they stop helping you. Then you know it's time to move on.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all I can say. But to wrap it up,
Okay.
Fumi is a phenomenal person. I couldn't, since she took over PTN, she's done a fantastic job, and I'm very, very proud of her. Okay.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you, sir.
All right. Any other questions? We have 11 minutes.
Doc.
Victor, go ahead.
For the most part of today's event, I've been on the road. At the point, my battery went blank, so I
Your battery has gone blank again. All right. Whenever he comes back, he comes back. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Somebody asked, there's a question and said, can my nature and environment limit or affect my goal? Can my nature, your nature, you know, your nature and your environment are two different things. There is something called your nature. Your nature has to do with what we call fixed factors, like who you are. You are male or female. You are African. You are born into a family. You are the fourth child of a family of 12. There are certain things that are who you are. Those things can never change. Do you understand my point? There is who you are by birth. That is your nature, okay? But there is the other side of you, which is your nurture. Your nurture has to do with the influences of your environment. For instance, you are born into a wealthy family, so you had opportunities to go to a good school, good friends, you had proper nourishment growing up. So the things that you focused on were different. You spent more time watching Tom and Jerry and Sesame Street, and so you picked up how to speak a certain way. For some other person, they were born on the other side of Rumokoro, on the border of Rumukurushi, all right? And they've never had the opportunity to wear shoes all their life because poverty is like poverty is the landlord in their house. They lived in a one bedroom, in room and parlor with 16 other children and, other families, their father and mother always quarreling from morning till night, Do you understand what I'm saying? Two people, same female, same African, same Nigerian, everything, but just born into two separate environments. And those two environments have shaped their thinking or their expectations, which is also called their nurture. Okay? So one person will come out there with a greater sense of saying, hey, you know what? Life is possible. I can be a success. I can be a doctor. I can be this. The other one will just be angry all the time because as far as they're concerned, marriage is all about fighting from morning till night, their only goal when they wake up in the morning is how to survive. What am I going to eat now? While the other person is thinking about, I have homework to do. While one person is busy watching Tom and Jerry, the other one is busy stoning their neighbor and breaking their glass. So that's who you become. So your nature and your nurture come together to always shape what you desire or what your goals are. But the key thing that I tell people, and I think it is one of the things that we're even working on right now on PTNX, is that you need to understand your nature in order for you to shape your goals. Because if your nature does not define the things that you desire, you will actually be looking for something that will not give you fulfillment. Do you understand? But when you get to know who you are, the things that matter to you, the things that you're passionate about, be they products of your nature or things that you learned through your nurture, you will find yourself coming up with the right goals. For instance, you may have grown up let me give you an example. Why do you think a lot of Nigerians, all they want to do is that they are, all they just want to do is get more money, more money, more money. Every Nigerian is money, 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 more money, more money, money. So they will hoodwink who they need to hoodwink. They will sell their mother. They will kidnap their brother. They will do anything just to, why? Why do you think that's the case? Simple, because the environment has taught them that nobody cares about you, and so I don't care about anybody else. I need to make room for myself. So survival of the fittest becomes the watchword. Do you understand? That is the influence of your nurture. Your nurture will teach you things. Now, here's the interesting thing. The same people will leave the Nigerian space, the same individual will leave the Nigerian space and travel to, say, the United States, and the same person who will never stand in line before, all of a sudden will find himself standing in a line. Why? Because the environment is now shaping his desire. Do you understand my point? I have a lot of people who come visit from Nigeria, and they come and stay either at my house or they visit with us. And particularly if it's their first time coming to the US, a lot of times they're just like amazed at how simple things are. You know, the next thing you hear them say, if it was in Nigeria now, you know, you know why? Because the environment has a way of influencing human behavior, but your nature does not change. Your nature is constant, but your nurture is variable. So you have to shape that in order to determine what your goals are. Like if you ever met Mrs. Billex, Fumi, and you speak to Fumi now, you hear things like, wow, you know, there's all this phonerization that is going on. So for a while, I was thinking it was made in Nigeria, but I came to realize, this is actually legit. You know, she was born over there. You know, but when you now talk to Tonye, yes, sir. You know, you know that the guy grew up in Port Harcourt. You understand my point? So, but if we're to switch roles now, if let's assume we took Fumi now and raised that up around that Borokiri side, you know, Okrika Water side, okay? She grew up on Okrika Water side, just near that garrison, around that road, or let's go to Diob, all born and bred. Then from there, we sent her to River State University of Science and Technology. Then Tonye was born in the UK, came to school in the US, and all of that. By the time you hear Tonye speak, Tonye say, what? Like, what? What happened? You know? Why? The nature remains the same. The same person. The same person. The only difference, their exposure has shaped what they desire. Their exposure has shaped their worldview. Their exposure has shaped their outlook to everything. Like there's several of you. I can see one person in Abuja, like Laura, for instance. I think Laura spent most of her life in the UK as well. You know, and even her conduct and around. So you still know how people's, you know, outlook and behaviors and everything shape how they behave. Now, if from the day you are born, you've been living in Yola, you've not gone outside the boundary of Yola, then by the time you come to Abuja, you'll be amazed. You'll be like, wow, you mean people are outside past 4 o'clock, you know? So your nature and your nurture work together in shaping what you desire. But it is very important for you to know what it is that you really want, not necessarily things that are products of your environment in itself. I'm not sure if that makes any sense. Fumi, does that answer your question? Okay. How can one deal with burnouts that could arise from policies that change the rules of the game just when you think that you are doing well? How can one deal with burnout that could arise from policies? Please, Eric, where are you? Explain yourself, because this is beginning to sound like a policy question. I know it's election season. Most of you are thinking policies right now. I don't
Yes, what I
clarify it for me, please.
Making headways with your goals, and all of a sudden there's a policy change that affects the environment in which you are operating, and you just feel exhausted, you lack strength to push on again and all that. So how could one really be able to remotivate himself and navigate those policies that could have negative effects on the business?
The question is, how badly do you want to succeed? If you really want to succeed, if the policies change your you change your strategy, but you don't give up, except if it is not important to you. As long as whatever it is that you're desiring is important and you're longing for it, you desire it, then you just sit down and come up with a new plan. You see, that is why you need to keep reevaluating your successes as you go. All right. Policies are going to change, particularly things that you don't have control over. But when they change, you have to adapt. Adaptability is one of the key strategies for successful business people. They will tell you that. So people will disappoint you, policies will change, situations will arise, but ultimately it's up to you to keep going on. But I'm not saying you keep going on doing the same thing you're doing before. Sit down, evaluate, and see how that change impacts your strategy. If the same strategy you're working on is going to work, you keep at it, but always factor in any new thing that comes into play. But don't give up, except if you don't want whatever thing you're working towards, okay? All right. Well, our time is up. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today. Now, every Saturday, we have this Marching Towards Your Goals that I started last week. It's at 6 p.m. GMT, which is 7 p.m. Nigerian time. It's on Facebook. It's on Instagram, it's on YouTube. So it's not on this platform. So I will encourage you, if you have friends who are interested in being a part of it, a lot of the things that I discuss on this platform are the same things that I've shared with you, but I am going into a lot more detail and taking a lot more time. This show typically is about 10-15 minutes at the most. And it's only on Saturdays at 6 p.m. GMT on Facebook. So if you go to the Private Transformation page on Facebook, you can connect to it there on Instagram, Twitter, and all those platforms. All right. So take advantage of it. Invite your friends, those who cannot join this forum. Tell them about this, and we'll do it on an ongoing basis. It's going to be every Saturday through the month of March. All right. So I just wanted to mention that to you. So we have the picture. I think we have the flyer also sent into your WhatsApp group. So take advantage of it. So carry on this conversation. Let's move this conversation. If you have questions about what we've discussed so far, please ask your questions within the group, within the WhatsApp groups. That's where I'm going to respond. If you send me direct questions, I will not respond, except if it's of a very, very personal, private, intimate nature. Otherwise, share it on the group so that other people can also be able to learn from the things that we're discussing, okay? So thank you very much. It was nice to see the faces of some of you that I haven't seen in a while. Don't be strangers, and I hope that this session was helpful for you. I would like to get feedback from each of you that attended. I will read the WhatsApp group to see some feedback from some of you. So whatever feedback you think you got from this, whatever points you think you benefited, whatever stood out the most for you, let's discuss that. I'd also like to get some feedback from you, okay? So thank you very much. And if I get enough feedback and I think this was beneficial, then maybe perhaps we can schedule something once a month for all of you so that we can just do a monthly training to just keep you all guys going, okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right. You all have a fantastic evening.
Thank you, sir.
You too.
Regards
Thank
to
you.
your family and have a wonderful evening.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, sir.